is National Cereal Day. Oh, yes. So, are you the sort of person who has been spending the past few weeks just planning and just being really excited about National Cereal Day? So, this morning you woke up and you got a big old bowl of your favorite cereal and you're like, yes, it's National Cereal Day. Or are you like me and didn't realize it was National Cereal Day until you popped onto Twitter and you'd already had breakfast and cereal was not part of the equation? I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know what your morning habits might be. But there is one thing I am absolutely certain about, and that is the Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, it is Wargame Wednesday here on the Daily Dope, and I am your host, Jeff McAleer. I also happen to be the Grand Poobah over at thegaminggang.com. So welcome aboard. I know Wednesdays brings in a pretty good crowd, both live as well as the rendered videos that are up on YouTube as well as Twitch, because I always have some Wargame goodness cooking on Wednesdays, and today is going to be right up everybody's alley who are looking forward to a pretty cool Wargame unboxing. Anyway, yes, that's right. I am going to be unboxing At Any Cost Metz 1870 from GMT Games, designed by my good pal Hermann Luttmann. So that's coming up in just a bit. Got a good amount of news today, and I have a really big news item. Probably not going to be up Wargamers' alleys, but I'm sure there are a lot of gamers out there who are going to be pretty excited by this news. And I'm actually going to leave it for my last news item because I'm going to pontificate about it a little bit. Hopefully not too much, but I do want to talk about it just a tad. Anyway, before I jump, excuse me, before I start coughing all over the place, right? Before I jump into the news, I did want to mention, if you watched yesterday's show, and I did the review of the agents from Ninja Division, and I talked about how our furnace had gone out the night before, and I didn't think maybe there would actually be a show yesterday, simply because we were working on the furnace. I have to admit, that review just really wasn't up to snuff in my book. I mean, my final thoughts about the game and giving it a 7 out of 10, I have no problem with that. I mean, that is what I think of the game. I think it's a good game for the right crowd. It's not going to be for everyone. But the whole review was just, I don't know, to me it just was off. And one of the reasons was I did not get a chance to rehash the rule book once again before I jumped into doing the review. I thought, oh yeah, we played it a couple of weeks ago. I'll remember all this stuff easy. It's all right off the top of my head. Because everybody knows I don't script the Daily Dope outside of the news pieces, the press releases that I'll be reading. And boy, I tell you, it was like, am I remembering that right? Or is that something from another game? Or was that the how to play that my nephew Cameron had watched and was explaining to me? Because I don't know, for some strange reason, that rule book just didn't click with me. So anyway, I don't know. My apologies for folks who watched that and were thinking, what is Jeff drunk? Does he even know what this game is? What's going on? Yes, I did. I talked about how I go about my day with the gaming gang as well as getting ready for the Daily Dope. And one of the things that I do at night, if I'm doing a review, is I will refresh myself with the rules, especially if it's been a while since I had played. Anywho, what can I tell you? Anyway, I do want to mention chat is available. It is not on screen. It's one of the reasons, one of the ways I should say, that I kind of keep some of the trolls at bay. Although every once in a while I still get a troll popping up, but at least it's not on screen, so you don't see it. I just see it. But there is chat available both on Twitch as well as YouTube. So, if you want to say hello, I am more than happy to say hello back and recognize that you are watching live. When I do the unboxing, if you want to see something a little closer up or have a question, feel free, chime in. Anyway, let me grab a quick sip here, because today's been another hectic day before getting the show going. There we go. So yes, once again, I am here in the Duct Tape Studios. Much warmer today, thankfully, because we did get the furnace fixed. All right, so there are some pretty cool news pieces. I've got a lot of different genres of games to talk about today. Strangely enough, it is Wargame Wednesday, and I did not find any wargaming news that had popped. Sorry. Now watch, tomorrow it'd be a bunch of stuff. And of course I'll include it in the news. I include Wargame news regardless if it's Wednesday or not. But I was hoping to find something interesting for the Wargamers watching out there, but not today. Anyway, so my first news piece is from USAopoly, and there is a fairly interesting tie-in game to Avengers Infinity War that is coming really soon. And I have the dope, because USAopoly Inc. dares hobby game enthusiasts and Marvel Cinematic Universe devotees to leave no stone unturned this spring with their newest tabletop battle game, Thanos Rising: Avengers Infinity War, inspired by the upcoming Marvel Studios theatrical release. Fulfilling an increasing demand for modern-themed, team-centric entertainment, Thanos Rising: Avengers Infinity War provides an outlet for both older and newer generations to take on the role of a hero in a challenge that also keeps the standards of the Marvel fandom in mind. The cooperative dice and card game features an eye-catching 120mm custom-sculpted figure of Marvel villain Thanos, among more than 190 intricate game components. The prominent centerpiece oversees a detailed galaxy setting that welcomes players to recruit their favorite heroes and join forces to defeat the power-hungry despot on his mission to collect all 6 stones of the Infinity Gauntlet. Building upon the strengths of the characters on their team as well as other players, winning requires critical thinking and communication to reach a common goal. The hour-long game provides context for those unfamiliar with the Marvel franchise. How in the world could you be unfamiliar with the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Are you living under a rock? You're certainly not watching this show. Anyway, it is also a learning opportunity for newcomers to the hobby game world. Thanos Rising: Avengers Infinity War is for 2 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, plays in around 60 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, and is going to release on March 23rd. Strangely enough, the release date is right around the corner, but I do not have any MSRP info yet. Honestly, there's not a lot of talk about kind of the gameplay from USAopoly. This could be pretty interesting. It is utilizing a lot of the heroes from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Too bad it's not, like just Marvel, right? So then you could have all these other superheroes in it. A lot of the Avengers who aren't part of the cinematic universe and so on and so forth. But this could be pretty cool. And I gotta say, that miniature looks pretty interesting. It's huge. It's 120 millimeters. Anyway, I am gonna take a stab. We're probably looking at MSRP maybe around $40, $45. That's my guess. Don't know for certain. Once I know more, obviously, I will share that with you. Moving right along. When I was talking about Of Dreams and Shadows yesterday, I mentioned I had some other news from my fine friends over at GreenBrier Games. Oh yes. Well, it turns out the Northern Territory expansion for Grimslingers is actually hitting stores today. And here's the dope. The Northern Territory contains some of the Forgotten West's strangest and most prolific spectacles, secrets, and adventures. Resist the siren songs of the Red Maidens. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to do that because I already mentioned on yesterday's show I have a thing for redheads. Anyway, as you traverse the treacherous paths of the Red River, brave the unforgiving, cavernous interiors of the border wall known as Gates of Hell. Help or hinder newcomers to the Forgotten West in the northern outskirts. Delve into the cryptid creature-filled depths of the Down Under and uncover ancient secrets in the Great Deep. Explore the Valley of Death anew and more as you set out into the Northern Territory. Grimslingers, the Northern Territory is an expansion to, obviously enough, the Grimslingers core game, which refines and redefines all aspects of the game while adding more of what players love. Deeper and more strategic player versus player gameplay, along with a plethora of new solo/co-op content for players to delve into for many hours. Grimslingers, the Northern Territory, requires the core game, as I mentioned, and is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, plays in about 15 to 90 minutes. The expansion does carry an MSRP of $29.95. Sweet! I like Grimslingers. I think Grimslingers is pretty cool. And you can tell, I wish I had more images I could share from the expansion, but really all that was available is the box cover. And yes, you can play as a cat. That's right, you can. But I have the original Grimslingers here and did a review, really liked it. We still get it out to the table every once in a while, which as a reviewer, that says something about a game, right? So the interesting thing about Grimslingers is you can play it co-op and there's a campaign to it and you're fighting all these different creatures out in this weird West setting, the Forgotten West. But there's also just a kind of a quick player versus player sort of option for the game too. You can play it solitaire. There's a lot of cool stuff packed in this little box. So I understand from my pal Julie Ahern over at GreenBrier Games that the Northern Territory is going to be coming my way. So what I was thinking of doing is when I did a review for Grimslingers, it's just a written review, right? I didn't do a video review for it. I just did a written review. So I think what I'll end up doing is I will actually do an unboxing for the Northern Territory when that arrives. And when I do a review of it, I will actually do kind of a how to play Grimslingers along with that too. Because yeah, you kind of need to know how the core game works for me to review the expansion. So keep an eye out for that. And I'm excited. I got some GreenBrier stuff heading my way. There's a lot of GreenBrier Games news that's kind of popping a little bit. Some Kickstarters on the horizon. Some game releases a little later on this year. So things have been a little quiet at GreenBrier. So I'm glad to see a bunch of new stuff coming out from them because it's one of my favorite companies. And when I say it's one of my favorite companies, they employ some of my favorite people in the industry. Julie's a blast to chat with. And in fact, if you haven't seen my interview with Julie at, I want to say, yeah, it's last year's Gen Con. I interviewed Julie at all the Gen Cons that I go to. But it's a lot of fun. And we talk a lot about Folklore of the Affliction, which is an awesome game too. So anyway, moving right along. I saw a family game that looks pretty neat. And yes, I know I'm dorky. I use words like that. Neat. And it's from MAGE Company, and I really dig the artwork. Now, I don't have a ton of detail about the game. There is some gameplay info that is available, but it sort of really didn't, it wasn't translated correctly, I think. I think the game is actually German originally. It just seemed weird. But anyway, on the horizon from MAGE Company is Monster Boo. Yes, it is a family game that's on the horizon in which you scare away scary monsters from your dreams. And I've got some dope. in your dreams, you're haunted by monsters. After some sleepless nights, you want to get rid of it. See what I mean? Wouldn't it be rid of them? However, this is easier said than done. The monsters are always changing colors and shapes. Damn you, monsters! Above this, when you think that you've gotten rid of them all, they suddenly reappear in numbers. Will you be the first player to be left with no cards, or will you be the fastest one to get rid of the monsters? Monster Boo is a party bluffing card game for 3 to 5 players, where each player owns a deck of monsters and everyone gets to try to get rid of their decks. MAGE Company is proud to announce a new cooperation with Friedrich Moyersohn, I think that's how his last name is pronounced, author of Saboteur, Ninjato, and other well-known games. Friedrich designed this beautiful kids game, and MAGE Company will release Monster Boo in the 3rd quarter. I don't have an exact release date. All I have is Q3. Don't have MSRP information yet either, because it's still a ways out. But Monster Boo is for 3 to 5 players, ages 6 and up, and will play in around 20 to 30 minutes. Just from the box art and some of the artwork that I'm sort of sharing, I dig the look of the game. I have no idea how the game really plays. Like I said, there is some detail as far as the gameplay itself. It just, I swear, it looks like it was translated from another language and not translated all that well. Anyway, once I get more information about Monster Boo, I'll be sure to share it with those folks out there who have little kids, like to play games. I think it's kind of tough sometimes. Now, I don't have children. But of course, I do have my niece and nephew I see all the time, right? But they are getting a little bit older now. They're not into the little kids games. But when my niece Madison was younger, she's 11 now. She's going to be 12 real soon. Her birthday's coming up. I would bust out some of the kids games that I would get, and she got a kick out of them. And thankfully, they were children's games that could actually keep the adult involved, because there are so many kids games out there where it's just so basics, roll and move kind of stuff. And yeah, as an adult, you're sitting there going, okay, so do we play this again, or do I just go out and eat some broken glass? So this doesn't seem like one of those kind of games. This looks like something that would be for families, kids, and those of us who refuse to grow up. Anyway, miniature gamers and painters who are looking for tips and tricks and maybe a little inspiration will want to check out the latest issue of Figure Painter magazine. Here's the dope. Welcome to Figure Painter magazine issue 48. In this issue, we have some really cool stuff. We start off with an insight interview with a true miniature artist, Antonio Levecchio, who I've wanted to get into the magazine for quite some time. David Rayon finally managed to pin him down, I should say. We also have 2 brilliant full tutorials from Luke Wilson. Hey, thankfully I can pronounce his name. And Christoph Kobalchik. And some similar how-tos from myself and Terry Cowell when we take a look at some new paints. Also in this issue, we take a look at a diorama that was first seen back in 2012 and one of my all-time favorite pieces, Fruity de Mer by Robert Blaha. As always, we want to hear from our readers. Send in suggestions, questions, or anything you feel like to our Facebook or email, and we hope you enjoy this issue. I think it's one of our best. Of course, that's obviously coming from the editor. You can score the digital edition of Figure Painter magazine for approximately, wait for it, $2.09. It's the exchange rate, gang. This is a European magazine. I want to say it's out of the UK. It's out of the UK. So looks pretty cool. I will point out that from the covers and some of the images I've seen, it looks like the focus is kind of towards like 54 millimeter figures as opposed to 24 to 32 millimeter like we normally see. But still, what was the miniature company? I don't even know if they're honestly still around. Now, I know Night Models makes some really cool looking stuff. There was a company, I want to say they were out of Italy, and it was Andrea Miniatures. They had just phenomenal figures. They were just beautiful. And a lot of historic stuff, a lot of movie stuff. They had a John Wayne mini that was just awesome. Fortunately, kind of tough to get them here in the US because of shipping and everything else. But I always dig kind of painting magazines, miniature painting, stuff like that. I have talked about in the past, I used to do 1/6 scale figures. I used to call them garage kits. It's really what the hobby was called, because it started off where you kind of kit bash stuff together. But I used to do airbrushing, all this other stuff. I had a bunch of different things. I used to love doing that. Loved painting up the garage kits, and you know, like kind of cheesecake girl models and Godzilla, and I did Gamera, most people refer to, but it's Gamera in Japan. Did all that kind of stuff, and then the hobby just went poof because of counterfeiters. Yes, because of counterfeiters, mainly in China. Yeah, so when I kind of talk about counterfeiters in board gaming and like card gaming and stuff like that, like Magic the Gathering gets hit all the time with counterfeit cards coming out of China. It can really damage the hobby. Like I said, I was big into garage kits, painting that stuff, and then one day, that was it. And Amazing Figure Modeler was the magazine I picked up religiously because it had lots of great tips, lots of awesome photography and stuff like that. And to be honest, it looks as if Figure Painter magazine is along those same lines. Looks really, really cool. Anyway, I am going to kind of stay across the pond with my news right now. And I'm going to move into some role-playing game news as my pals over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment have the latest Adventures in Middle-earth release heading to US stores very soon. Here's the dope. The Eves of Mirkwood and Lore Master screen for Adventures in Middle-earth is in our US warehouse right now, and preparations are underway to send it out to everyone who pre-ordered in the US. The Eves of Mirkwood is an introductory scenario for Adventures in Middle-earth. It comes with pre-generated characters, maps, and features streamlined versions of the Adventures in Middle-earth rules. It's a perfect package to introduce a new group to the game. The great part is, if you want to try out Adventures in Middle-earth, you don't need the Adventures in Middle-earth Player's Guide or Lore Master's Guide to run it. It would certainly be useful, but if you want to try out Adventures in Middle-earth for the first time, you simply need the 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons rules. Now, they can't say Dungeons & Dragons, I can say Dungeons & Dragons. So according to Cubicle 7, it is the 5E rules. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you know what those are. Eves of Mirkwood is a self-contained adventure which should take roughly 3 hours to play, depending on your group's style. It's perfect for a single evening's gaming session. The Adventure and Lore Master's screen will be available later on this month in stores for $29.99, or you can score the digital edition on DriveThruRPG for $9.99. Gotta be honest, and I love the gang at Cubicle 7 Entertainment. Dominic is fantastic. He's another person that I search out every year. Love sitting down and, well, we're standing usually. Love going and interviewing Dominic. All the cool stuff that's going on with Cubicle 7 Entertainment. So, but I have to say, I don't know, $30 for a Game Master screen and a 32-page adventure seems a little pricey. Now, if you go digital, then you're looking at $9.99 over at DriveThruRPG. If you want to get kind of dip your toes into Adventures in Middle-earth, that might be the direction you go in. Just my opinion, throwing out opinions, folks. That's how I operate. Anyway, speaking of drive-through RPG, I do want to mention once again, it's kind of a daily thing right now. The GM's Day sale is still going on. It's going to run through the 11th of the month, and you can currently save 33% on over 40,000 role-playing game products, be it core rules, adventures, supplements, what have you. And I keep pointing out, somebody had actually emailed me and said, oh, well, Jeff, you do realize 33% is not the biggest discount that you see on drive-through RPG. You'll see bundles and things like that. Because I have said, you know, the 33% is the biggest discount you're going to see over on drive-through RPG. And I did kind of misspeak. What I should say is, you never see a sale of this magnitude at drive-through RPG where so many items are 33% off. A lot of times when they do their sales, like they'll do the Christmas in July and stuff like that, usually it's about 20-25%. So just want to point out that sale is still going on, so take advantage of it while you can. And when I talk about drive-through RPG, I always mention, if you're swinging over there, please stop at thegaminggang.com first, click on one of our banners, and if you just so happen to make a purchase, we'll get a small portion of that. And it helps me out, and it helps the Gaming Gang stick around. Trust me, it really, really does. All right, so I saved the biggest news piece, I think, for the day for last. And I'm sure for some gamers out there, this might be the biggest gaming news item of the year. Because Paizo Publishing has revealed their plans for an open playtest for the second edition of Pathfinder. And you'll be able to get your hands on it sooner than you may think. So here's the dope. Paizo Inc. has announced the worldwide open playtest of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, an evolution of one of the world's most popular tabletop role-playing games. The playtest begins August 2nd, 2018, when Paizo releases the Pathfinder Playtest Rulebook, Pathfinder Playtest Adventure, and Pathfinder Playtest Flip Mat Multi-Pack, kicking off a massive multi-month free playtest. Digital editions of all 3 Pathfinder Playtest products will be available for free at paizo.com starting August 2nd. A limited number of print editions will be available at game stores and bookstores all over the world, as well as at Paizo's booth at Gen Con in Indianapolis, Indiana, August 2nd through the 5th. Players can pre-order print editions of all 3 playtest products from local game stores now. In fact, if you go to the Paizo website, they have a form for you to print out, fill it out, bring it into your friendly local game store. You can also do this directly from Paizo.com between March 20th and May 1st. Paizo will not reprint the playtest rulebook or adventure, so players must pre-order to assume they do not miss these items. Paizo launched the role-playing game industry's first large-scale public playtest in 2008 to create the first edition of the Pathfinder role-playing game. Tens of thousands of gamers collaborated to improve its original concepts. I believe it was around 40,000 gamers. As Pathfinder has developed over the last 10 years, we've continued to think about how to make the rules more fun, easier to learn, and better for telling our favorite fantasy stories, said Eric Mona, Paizo's publisher and chief creative officer. It's time to take another step forward in the evolution of the game. The Pathfinder Playtest Rulebook is a massive 400-page rulebook and contains everything you need to create characters and run Pathfinder playtest adventures from levels 1 through 20. With gorgeous new illustrations by Wayne Reynolds, the playtest rulebook lights the path leading directly to Pathfinder's future. It'll be available in 3 editions, softcover, hardcover, and a deluxe hardcover with foil embossed faux leather cover and ribbon bookmark. There's also the Pathfinder Playtest Adventure, Doomsday Dawn. This 96-page super adventure contains 7 multi-encounter scenarios designed to introduce the new rules and put them to the ultimate test on your game table. With adventures spanning all 20 levels and featuring most of the game's newest rules, Doomsday Dawn provides a thrilling tour of the new rules and of the Pathfinder world itself. And then there's the Pathfinder playtest Flip Mat multi-pack. Throw your heroes into the action with this collection of 2 double-sided flip mats for use with the playtest adventure. These beautiful full-color maps measure 24 inches by 30 inches unfolded and set the scene for climactic battles that will determine the future of Pathfinder. The map's erasable surface can handle any dry erase, wet erase, or even permanent markers. I am going to share a video with Eric Mona and Jason Bolman, I think it's Bolman is how it's pronounced, where they talk a little bit about this playtest. I am going to point out the video does run about 5 minutes, so if you have absolutely no interest whatsoever in learning more about the Pathfinder playtest, second edition I should say, playtest, by all means, take a bathroom break or go grab a cup of coffee or something to drink, or get a bowl of cereal. It's National Cereal Day. Come on, go get some cereal. And of course, in the rendered video, you'll be able to skip 5 minutes ahead. I do have to point out, I thought this video was kind of interesting, so that's why I'm sharing it. All right, so kick back, enjoy your bowl of cereal, because here's Eric and Jason.
Hi, I am Eric Mona, the publisher at Paizo.
And I'm Jason Bowman, the director of game design at Paizo.
In 2009, Paizo published the Pathfinder role-playing game, the result of a massive public playtest involving tens of thousands of gamers just like you. Now, at that point, those of us who worked behind the scenes on Pathfinder already had 10 years of experience with the 3rd edition rules, and we were very well acquainted with the flaws and problems that we wanted to smooth over in order to make the game easier to learn, more fun, and better for the type of thrilling sword and sorcery adventure stories that had brought us to tabletop gaming in the first place. Now, with 2019 just around the corner, we find ourselves in a very similar situation with the Pathfinder game itself. It's been 10 more years, and as our game has developed, we have continued to think about how to make the rules more fun, easier to learn, and better for telling our favorite fantasy stories. With nearly 10 years of Pathfinder behind us, it is time to take another step forward in the evolution of the game. It's time for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Now, over the coming weeks, we'll be revealing more details on the new edition and how you can get involved with the public playtest right here on Paizo.com. The new rules and playtest materials release for free this summer, but just like last time, we'll be printing a limited number of print copies for folks interested in joining us on our playtest. We'll have more information about how you can get involved at the end of this video. I've asked Jason to give us a look inside the game and give us a sense of some of the changes that are in store. Jason?
Thanks, Eric. You know, over the past decade, there have been a variety of innovations added to the game, but we've also discovered a lot of the game's weak spots. Now we have a chance to revisit the choices we made with the 1st edition of the game almost a decade ago, updating the game's engine while also adding a bunch of fun new ways to play. First and foremost, the game has to stay true to itself. You have to be able to make the characters you want to make and tell the stories you want to tell. You want to play an elf wizard, you want to play a dwarf barbarian, those options are all still part of the game. Monsters are still deadly, dragons are still terrifying monsters, and kobolds are still lowly minions to kick around. But beyond that, we took a great deal of time listening to you. Using your feedback, we've revised the way that the game is played, making it smoother, cleaner, faster than ever before. We've cleaned up the math so that the game is more balanced from level 1 all the way up to level 20. We've also taken this opportunity to fine-tune the classes, comparing them to each other, making sure that each one of them has something unique and engaging to add to the play experience. But in addition to just revising the game and cleaning things up, we've had a chance to incorporate 10 years of invention. Alchemists are joining the core list of classes, and goblins are now a playable race. Archetypes are now a core part of the game, along with backgrounds and a robust set of rules for using your downtime. There's a lot to discover, but you'll never be very far away from the game that you love, the game that you helped us make. In the coming weeks, we'll be looking at all the various parts of the game, from the races and classes to the magic items and monsters. The first preview goes up tomorrow, where we'll be taking a look at the game's revised engine and the action economy that you'll be using in combat. We're really excited to dig into it. But I don't want to spoil everything right now. I'm going to turn it back over to Eric so you can learn how to get your hands on this playtest rulebook.
Now, that's just a tiny hint at the new changes coming for the playtest materials releasing this August. Over the coming days and weeks, we'll update Paizo.com with new previews until the playtest rulebook's release on August 2nd. We at Paizo are good at a lot of things, but there are some things that we're not very good at, and one of those is predicting the right number of copies to print of books that we expect to be in high demand. The playtest itself will go several months, but it still won't be enough time for us to fit in a second printing of the rulebook, the adventure, and the associated flip mats. If you'd like to join us on the playtest and physical printed products are important to you, I urge you to place a pre-order at your local game store or right here at Paizo.com. We'll print enough copies to fill all of our pre-orders, but if the original first edition playtest book, the Pathfinder core rulebook, the Pathfinder Adventure card game, and the Starfinder RPG taught me anything, it's that we're probably going to print too few no matter what. So if you want to guarantee your copies, you have got to pre-order between now and May 1st. Now, thank you for your continued support of Paizo and the Pathfinder role-playing game. We're very excited about these new rules, but they won't be perfect until you've had a chance to try them out and let us know what you think. Thanks in advance for your participation in the playtest, and we'll see you right here on Paizo.com with regular updates on our progress and reveals of the new game as we build it together. We literally cannot do this without your help.
All right, so the 3 playtest products will be printed to order based on pre-orders that are placed by May 1st. And I did mention previously they are not going to be reprinted. I'm not sure about the flip mats because I sort of got the impression that the flip mats might be available in the future. So, the Pathfinder playtest rulebook will be sold in 3 8x5x11 editions. A soft cover at $29.99, a hardcover at $44.99, and a deluxe edition, like I said before, with the faux leather and metal deboss. And it will also have a bound-in cloth, well, they say notebook, but it's a page marker. Anyway, that'll be $59.99. Doomsday Dawn, written by Logan Bonner, Jason Bowman, James Jacobs, Amanda Harmon Coons, Stephen Rodney McFarlane, and Mark Seifter, is going to carry a MSRP of $24.99 for the 96-page soft cover. The 2 double-sided flip mats with 4 key encounter areas from Doomsday Dawn, a burnt-out crypt, a ruined temple, a wizard's tower, and an arcanist's astronomer's underground workshop, will be available for $24.99, and keep in mind it does have that erasable coated surface. So, as I mentioned, this is pretty big news. A lot of role players out there probably already all pumped about this upcoming playtest. So I do want to talk about this a little bit because I do hear people chattering and stuff on the interwebs. So a few things I want to point out because there are some okay, so it breaks down like this, right? So you got people who are like, yeah, all right, 2nd edition of Pathfinder, all right. Then you got other people who are like, this is just a money grab by Paizo. I don't need another edition. All right, so there's valid points on each side, okay? But the first thing I'm going to point out is no one is forcing you to purchase these playtest materials, right? If you want the physical books, you'll have the opportunity to do so. But Paizo is making the digital editions absolutely free. Excuse me. Now, I have heard kind of conflicting page counts on the playtest rulebook. I've heard 400 pages, and then I've heard 416. Now, the 416 is for the printed edition. So I'm wondering if it's possible the printed edition may have more artwork. I don't know. But one thing I can tell you is I have the impression that this is not going to be like 5th edition D&D's playtest, which I got to see all those materials during the playtesting, right? Where there really wasn't any art. Well, there was a little bit, but there wasn't much artwork. It was all pretty dry text, stuff like that. I sort of get the impression that this is going to be more of a traditional rulebook that Paizo would be releasing. So for those out there who are sitting there thinking to themselves, oh yeah, it's a money grab, the playtest itself isn't really a money grab because you're going to be able to get those materials for nothing, just digitally. If you want to get the printed stuff, I will point out, Eric Mona's not kidding. You got to get a pre-order in. Don't expect to show up at Gen Con on Saturday and grab this. And I will tell you from personal experience, when we were covering Gen Con last year, Starfinder sold out within the first few hours. And I'm talking everything that had to do with Starfinder was gone. I think they had a map pack that was still there, but it was gone. So people who were showing up on Friday and Saturday, getting in line for the Paizo booth, found out, no, there's no Starfinder to be had. So like I said, Eric Mona's not joking. If you want to get your hands on it, it's best to pre-order it. Or be there first thing on Thursday morning at Gen Con and be like the first 100 people in line for the Paizo booth. Anyway, there are people, okay, a 2nd edition of Pathfinder, honestly, some folks are like, it doesn't need a 2nd edition. Yeah, I think personally it does. And I'll tell you why. And I have kind of delved into some Pathfinder stuff, not a ton of stuff. I have picked up some bundles over the years. And trust me, I'm friendly with Eric Mona. Eric knows me. I've interviewed him a couple of times. Super nice guy. But it isn't as if Paizo provides me with review stuff. I've gotten one book from Paizo over the years. I want to say it's Occult Horror. It's behind me that I got as a review copy. And it was just basically Eric said, hey, why don't you grab the new book that came out this year? I was like, oh, okay. But I had no, no reference point for it. I didn't have any of the other Pathfinder stuff. So I did talk about when somebody had asked through the mailbag on Monday if I were stuck on a desert island and I could only have one fantasy RPG and my choices were 5th edition D&D or Pathfinder, which one would I take? I said 5th edition D&D because it's just so much easier to get into the system. Whereas with Pathfinder, there's so much stuff out there, not just third party, I'm talking about from Paizo itself, that it can be really intimidating for people to get into the game. Because they're looking at, well, there's all these bestiaries, there's all these guides, there's all these adventure paths that have been collected into one book for a campaign. Hell, where do I start? And it is true that Pathfinder used to just beat up Wizards of the Coast. Paizo beat up Wizards of the Coast as far as sales with Pathfinder. Whereas now, 5th edition, and part of it is because they don't release something on a monthly basis from Wizards of the Coast, 5th edition is outselling Pathfinder in stores and online. So it does make sense to come out with a 2nd edition and make it easier for people to jump into the game. Plus, over the years, got to realize Pathfinder's been around almost 10 years. A lot of bloat has been introduced into the game with all these different optional guides and stuff like that. So I do think that it's a good idea for Pathfinder to streamline the game a bit. For those who are kind of complaining about a 2nd edition, well, obviously you don't check out miniatures games because miniatures companies are releasing new editions of their games constantly. I know, Games Workshop knows I'm looking right at them. So you've gotten a nice run for your 1st edition Pathfinder, because by the time the 2nd edition releases, which I'll take a guess is going to be 2019 at Gen Con, because they play tested the original Pathfinder for a year before it came out, you've gotten a good run. You got a good run for your money. And I guarantee you there's going to be hacks out there, maybe not necessarily from Paizo, there are going to be hacks out there for you to port over your first edition stuff to second edition. So kind of back off on the whole Paizo's trying to make like a cash grab by doing this, because I that's not how I see it. I think that I believe that they really do need to put together a second edition to trim some stuff down. Even myself, if you follow the Daily Dope, you know I've started running this fantasy campaign for Elliot and Cameron, my nephew, and his friends. And I did look at different systems thinking, okay, so what do I want to run? And I didn't want to go super crunchy, but I did take a look at Pathfinder and I thought, man, there's too much bloat to this. Just too much. And it does need streamlining. So I think it's pretty cool. So I'm excited. Hopefully, maybe I get something cooking with Paizo. I know I'm going to pick up the playtest stuff. So I will, of course, in the future, because we're talking August, I will share my thoughts about the playtest materials. Maybe I can luck out and get some physical stuff for us to actually get a good close look at, as opposed to just me having to use some images from PDFs. All right, so quite a bit of news today. Yeah, I probably pontificated a little bit too much about Pathfinder 2nd Edition, but this is big news. This is big RPG news. And unfortunately, it fell on Wednesday, which is Wargame Wednesday, so I'm sure my wargaming friends out there are thinking, all right, come on, let's go. Let's get on to at any cost. Come on, come on. Well, I will get into that in just a moment, but I do have to mention I've got giveaway winners. Wow, let's talk giveaways, right? So I had some giveaways going on YouTube. I had some giveaways going on for my patrons over at Patreon. So I do have the winners to announce. First off, let's tackle Patreon. So on Patreon, I gotta reach all the way over here. It's gonna be weird. People are gonna think, okay, this is pretty bizarre. But I have to point out, it's not as if I got a bunch of patrons over at Patreon. I just don't have tons. Yeah, it is what it is. Whatever. So the winner of Talon, the brand spanking new copy of Talon from GMT Games, is actually the designer of today's game I'm taking a look at, Hermann Luttmann. Hey, buddy. Yes, Hermann Luttmann is the winner of Talon. So I have his email address, so I will just shoot that out to him. See, I'm telling you, it's super easy right now to win giveaways if you're a patron on Patreon. So that was the big physical giveaway. Now, I also was doing a copy of Savage Worlds of Flash Gordon from Pinnacle Entertainment. Obviously enough, it is for Savage Worlds. And the winner of that is Robert Moffitt, who I have to point out won the Wing Leader Blitz expansion giveaway that I did, that I found out yesterday is sitting in the back of my on-again, off-again's car. Yeah, moving her much closer into that off-again. I swear, you want something done, you got to do it yourself. Ask somebody, hey, do me a favor, mail this out. Gave her the money. Do me a favor, just shoot this out. She works 3 minutes away from a post office. She's always at the post office. We go out to dinner last night. I usually drive. And yeah, we took her car. Hop in. When I'm getting back in from having dinner, what do I see sitting right on the back seat? Right on the back seat. Anyway, so sorry, Robert. I will be getting that out in the mail to you this weekend. Yeah, like I said, want something done, got to do it yourself. All right, anyway, move right along. Yeah. All right, so for YouTube, a really simple way to win my copy of ShutterBug, the family game from Calliope Games. All you had to do was comment on an episode of the Daily Dope from the last couple of weeks. Pretty simple. So the winner for that is Ace Turley, which I'm going to really bet that's not really that person's name. But Ace actually does Ace has followed, I think, the gaming gang for a long, long time. Didn't have anything to do with Ace winning, but yeah, I was sort of like, okay, because I just did it. It's all random. It's a random number generator. So they win a copy of ShutterBug, my copy, I should say, of ShutterBug. And the winner of the Savage Worlds of Flash Gordon, because I was doing a giveaway for that. And that includes the core rulebook as well as Kingdoms of Mongo. That goes to Vampyreonline, and it's kind of spelled Vampire Online. So what I will do is in the finished YouTube video, I will put down who all the winners are. And by all means, I will reach out to the winners. And of course, they can reach out to me as well. So those are the giveaways that I had going on. Currently, I got some other stuff cooking. One thing that's going to be on the horizon will be this month. I just don't know when I'll announce it. You may have recalled I was talking about the family. It's kind of like a children's RPG. It's a great introduction to children's RPGs called Amazing Tales. Looked really cool. So I did receive a PDF review copy from Martin, who is the designer of Amazing Tales. And Martin's also sending me a physical copy. So we are going to look at the physical copy. I'll do a review based on the physical copy, but I don't have small children. So I am going to do a giveaway for the hardcover edition of Amazing Tales. Like I said, I don't have a date on that yet, because of course I have to get it, look at it, do a review. So, but that will be before the end of this month. All right, one last thing before I get into the unboxing is that I do want to mention there is going to be a crowdfunding project for the Gaming Gang / the Daily Dope. Not sure what platform it's going to be on just yet. I am going to launch it middle of April. And just so you know, there is one of the pledge levels, and it will be limited. I should say a couple of pledge levels that are going to be available will be for Origins as well as Gen Con. And Elliot Miller, voice of E, my best friend, who gets a shout out nearly every day. He and I are going to team up, and we're going to offer an evening of gaming with us at Origins as well as Gen Con. And we're also going to offer the opportunity to go hang out, have dinner with us at Origins as well as Gen Con. And it's not going to be some crazy pledge level to do it, right? We're thinking probably for the gaming, we're going to do maybe $25 as a pledge level and cut it off at like 10 people. And for the dinner, we'll actually it'll probably be a little bit more because we're going to actually pick up the check for dinner. Except we're not going to cover adult beverages. So, yeah. But, yeah, there are some places both in Columbus as well as Indianapolis that we love to go have dinner, and they're kind of not, they're a little off the beaten path, which is pretty cool. So we're not like jam-packed with a bunch of convention attendees and stuff. So anyway, so just wanted to mention there is going to be a crowdfunding project. I don't know what companies are going to be involved yet, but yeah, I'm gonna float that out to try to help defray some of the costs of the conventions we're going to be attending, as well as maybe actually build a real studio down here as opposed to the duct tape studio. Anyway, all depends. All right, so moving right along, I am going to take a peek at any cost, Metz 1870, designed by my good friend Hermann Luttmann, developed by Fred Manzo. And if Fred's watching, hey Fred, hope I get a chance to say hello to you at this year's Origins. The map art is from Terry Leeds and Mark, I know I'm not going to get his name right. Siminovich, or I'm sorry, it's Simonich. I think it's Simonich. The counter art is from Pascal De Silva and Mark Simonich. Fingers crossed. The game is for 2 players, and it does carry an MSRP of $50. So I am going to move on over to the other camera Let's bring this on over. So you know what? All right, so I was going to do an unboxing, but I didn't get a check from Hermann Luttmann, so I'm not going to do an unboxing. I'm just going to do a review. I'm not even going to open up the box. So on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 1. Yeah, a 1, because look, there's no shrink wrap here. Look at that. Boy, that's it. That's what happens. Don't pay me to do reviews. It's a joke, people. Nobody pays me to do reviews. I am not that sort of guy. All right, so At Any Cost came out a couple of weeks ago. I want to say I got this a couple of weeks ago. I had some other Wargame stuff I needed to clear off the docket before we got a chance to do the unboxing for this. And it is a Franco-Prussian War game. So as far as I understand, it's not simply the Battle of Metz. There are some other scenarios, a little more campaign focus, I think, to one of the scenarios. But I do have to mention that the Franco-Prussian War isn't really a topic. It's not a conflict that gets a lot of gaming attention. So it's pretty cool. I know Hermann Luttmann is a bit of a Franco-Prussian historian, and he has done some other game designs based on that conflict. So I'm very, very interested to see what Hermann has put together for this, because I know a lot of Hermann's designs have a lot of chaos, a lot of randomness. I'm going to think that's going to be kind of toned down a little bit with this design, but I believe we'll see a little bit of it. So that is pretty cool. I have to be honest, I'm not extremely well versed in the Franco-Prussian War. I did own back in the day the miniatures rules. I want to say, was it Fated Glory? We're talking, this is 90s. Kind of similar in feel to like Fire and Fury, American Civil War rules. Played a lot of that. So, but I do know a little bit about the Franco-Prussian War, and I will point out that I know the French take a lot of grief. You know, the old, oh yeah, they never win, and so on and so forth. And you know, there's the old gag. I've got a French rifle for sale, never fired, only thrown down once, kind of thing. But the reality is, yeah, some folks maybe are forgetting about that, you know, little-known historical figure, Napoleon Bonaparte, and Vietnam, even in, you know, Algiers. The French military have, you know, been very, very courageous. They have fought hard. They may not have always come out on top, but it's not as if they were a bunch of cowards. All right, so let's take a look, see what we've got inside the box here. Okay, so we've got a little note from the fine folks over at GMT Games. And every time I crack open a GMT game, I always mention how cool the guys are. Guys and gals, I believe they've got some women who are working for the company as well, are over at GMT. Some of the finest people you're going to meet in the hobby. So we've got the rules of play. Let's take a quick peek through. So it's giving us the introduction, game scale, and map. I do believe this is a little lower on the complexity scale as far as GMT goes. GMT does the 1 to 9. I think this is around a 4. We'll take a look at the back of the box again, just to confirm that. It's talking about game components. And we've got infantry, headquarters, game markers, stacking limit, sequence of play, activation and event chits. There we go. There's some of the randomness from Hermann. So we've got activation chits. So activation of your units is going to be random. And I see we've got some events. Very cool, very cool. Postures and command. Fire combat. There's some illustrations throughout, not a ton. So it's a little lighter on the illustrations than some of the more recent GMT titles. So we're looking at casualties, fire combat results, morale tests, break tests, showing units eliminated, units eligible for rebuilding, movement, assault combat, sweet. Oh, I have to point out, I've had a couple of people ask, they'll see me kind of look off camera from time to time, and they were kind of curious what was up with that. One of two things. So either one, I'm taking a peek, something pops up in chat, and I take a peek. Sometimes it's a troll, so I don't say anything, but I, kind of look over at the chat. And then I have pointed out before, the two cats here, Pinky and Smokey, tend to be downstairs here. Today they aren't. Usually you'll hear Pinky meow, and Smokey will hop up on my lap for some period of the show. But a lot of times when they're down here, they may not be right by me, but I'll kind of see them out of the corner of my eye, so I'm kind of peeking to see if they're up to anything. So that's what I'm doing when I'm looking off screen. All right, so we got unit breakdown, overnight game turns, dawn. Dawn of the Zeds, what? What? I'm kidding. Victory determination, comprehensive example of play. Hey, speaking of Dawn of the Zeds, when's Victory Point Games going to get that back in stock? I've had people ask me that question because it's a Hermann Luttmann design. And one of my favorite games, Cameron, my nephew, loves that game. His friend Hunter really digs that game too. His friend Alex likes it. But it's been out of stock. Although his friend Hunter did buy it online. I know that for a fact. Which I should actually go to his house and make him give me what is it, Lieutenant Piazza counter, saying he lost it when we played my edition of it. Anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about GMT game. All right, so we got the play raids here. It looks like we got two of these. So we got assault combat results, break test results, assault combat, explanations of those results. Whoops, as I bumped a tripod. Fire combat. The Franco-Prussian War is pretty interesting because it is one of the more modern conflicts. In a lot of ways, the American Civil War changed a lot of tactics. And unfortunately, it took many of the commanders of the American Civil War a long, long time to realize that the tactics needed to change from Napoleonic tactics. But a lot of what was learned by the commanders during the American Civil War was actually put into use by both sides in the Franco-Prussian War. Although I have to admit, the Prussian army, of course, was much more modernized than the French, which was one of the reasons why they won. A few different reasons. It was not necessarily... The French did not lose necessarily because of the lack of martial talent. It was more a lot of political things going on back in Paris, as well as some higher command decisions that were big mistakes. All right, so we've got another copy of the play raid there. Oh, we got French event chits. I said chits, not something else. So that's pretty cool. Kind of explains what each of these are. Is there any randomness to this, like rolling dice? Nope, just looks like you will pull that event. Just got that. Oh, and then we got terrain effects, sequence of play, the different postures. Cool. Then we got the Prussian events. And once again, a copy of that. Very nice. Nice stock. Pretty cool. Ah, here we go. Here's the scenarios, right? Okay. Looks like it. A day of battle. Bloody Thursday. Oh, so see, we've got French event tracks. French command event tracks, I should say. Victory determination. It will cost what it will. I believe this is the big campaign kind of everything that ties the battle and other smaller battles that were going on around Metz. Yep. So that was the French. This looks like this is the Prussian. No, this also says French. Okay. A beckoning victory. Okay, maybe this is the big one. No, but it looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cool. 6 scenarios. Nice. And we've got the counter sheets as I'm holding this upside down. That's brilliant. Wow, look how good those counters are upside down. Yeah. Sweet. Let's get a closer look here. Oh, I see. So they're really not upside down. They're top rows printed right side up, bottom rows printed upside down. There we go. Cool. Cool. Nice. Yes, you get to see the introduction of the first really kind of, I guess I would say kind of modern machine gun from the French. I believe the Gatling gun was a better design, though. Isn't it called the Chase Pot? I think, isn't that what the French version was? I believe that's... Maybe I've got the pronunciation wrong, which would not be a shocker, right? All right, so we've got the 2 counter sheets. Ah, look, a playbook. Sweet. I love GMT playbooks. Let's look at the playbook. A couple of 10-sided dice. Baggie for the counters. What was this I just grabbed? Oh, wait. Sorry. 4 10-sided dice. Nice. Okay, so let's look at the playbook. So we're going to see... It's going to talk about the scenarios. We've got the Afternoon Crisis. We've got Twilight of the Guards. A Day of Battle. And of course, it's talking about setup, the units that make up both the French as well as Prussian armies, special rules for the scenario. Looks like we've got some reinforcements. Talking about the command events, victory conditions, the starting positions on the map. Bloody Thursday. A lot of detail in these scenarios, because sometimes you might have like 1 page, really, but looks like there's quite a bit of detail talking about each of these scenarios. A beckoning victory. Yeah, see, this is showing kind of a campaign because it's showing the 16th through the 18th. It will cost what it will. Also another scenario that's a campaign. So this is the 15th through the 18th of August. Ah, here we go. Here we go, Herman's designer notes. Herman does really fun designer notes. Okay, so this is a historical game. Probably not going to be as kind of, chatty in its designer notes on this. But I always like reading Herman's designer notes. Very cool. The Battle of Mars-Latour. That is the other design that that Herman had. Oh, gosh, and off the top of my head, I'm trying to remember what game company that was from. It's not GMT. I don't think it's in print anymore. There we go. Yes, I know. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Okay, I will. Gravelo Saint Privat? Yeah, I know I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong. Very cool. Orders of Battle. Nice. Like I said, I always dig the playbooks because the playbooks give you so much of that historical flavor, some of that background to the game. Always dig those. Now, of course, some GMT games don't have a playbook, but more often than not, you will see a playbook. All right, so let's take a look at the maps, and of course, space is at a premium here, so we are not gonna get that close a look. Put all this stuff in here for right this moment. And they are, oh, it's one, okay. So it's the one map. Oh, wow. Dig the kind of old school look to the map. Trying to get a better look. Now, I can zoom in. I can zoom in a little bit. So let's zoom in a little bit. Take a look at the map from here. This does sort of have kind of a 19th century flavor to the style. Cool, a little bit different than some of just the real traditional hex layout that you see with a lot of war games. Nice, pretty cool. All right, so we see that here we've got units eligible for rebuilding, units eliminated. We got a sequence of play right over here. We've got a tracker for the campaign days. Got a turn tracker that just cut off by one box. Whoops. It's just cut off by one box here. So we got that. Let's see if there's any other items of note. Nope. So that's kind of the tracking information there. Oh, a little surprised there's no terrain key. That's okay, though. I mean, there's a terrain key on the player handout, one of the player handouts. Nice. Nice. Zoom back out. Okay, so it is a paper map, but pretty nice. Pretty nice paper map. It's not super cheap stock. Of course, yes, I'm the sort of person, I always dig a mounted map. Now, I know there are people out there who are like big fans of paper maps because they have a big piece of plexiglass and they can just lay it on top. And I understand that. I mean, that's cool. There are some mounted maps that I've run across, or boards over the years too, where when you fold it out, it's still not flat, even though it's mounted. You're like, oh, okay. Myself personally, I'm not a fan of having like the plexiglass or even glass, simply because it tends to pick up a lot of glare. So, but I am not knocking anybody who does that. All right, so we've got the map. We've got the baggies, the 4 10-sided dice. We've got the 2 counter sheets. A little better look at some of the counters. I don't think I zoomed in real good on some of these. Very cool. Pretty standard size, standard war game counters. Then we've got all the different scenarios with reference sheets for those. Then we got the 2 player aids. See, there's that terrain key. Sometimes it's on the board. That's why I was just kind of taking a peek to see if it would be there. It's not a knock on it that it's not. All right, so we got those. Then we've got the combat results. Player aids for those. 2 of those. We got the rules of play. And the playbook. Sweet. Let's put all this back in. Because that is what we're going to find when we take everything from At Any Cost, Metz 1870, outside the box. Very cool. Very nice. So as I mentioned, this is available now from my pals over at GMT Games. And anytime I'm talking about GMT, I always point out if you have any interest in possibly picking up one of their games. So, as an example, At Any Cost, don't wait around. Don't sit on your hands and wait to pick it up. I mean, if it's something you're really like, yeah, you know, I really think I want to get that, act fast, because GMT does not do huge print runs. print runs usually run around probably 800 to maybe 1,000. I'm going to take a guess that at any cost probably is a lower print run. And I must admit, $50, that's a pretty good price. That's a pretty fair price. And I know I've been talking about how board gamers kind of getting priced out of the hobby, and I've been working on an article, which of course I didn't get any work on because of the furnace busting, breaking down. But anyway, war gamers are a little bit different. War gamers are more used to paying a little bit more for their games because it is such a niche hobby. So it's not unusual to see a war game that's got a lot to it, $75, $80, maybe even $100. So $50 for at any cost with all those different scenarios. If you've got any interest in the Franco-Prussian War, this is probably one you want to act fast and pick up. All right, so I will have a review of At Any Cost in the future. It's probably a little ways off, maybe probably 3 weeks or so, because unfortunately most of the gaming gang are not real, hex and counter kind of war gamers. They're not into like kind of traditional war games, which it's a Hermann Luttmann design. I'm sure it's not that traditional, but anyway, so I will have a review of that in the near future. All right, so that is it for the show today. Once again, thank you so much for stopping by and checking out the show. If you're not a subscriber on YouTube, by all means, please subscribe. If you dig the video, give it a little thumbs up. Not begging, I'm just asking. But anyway, when you are not watching The Daily Dope, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. You know the drill by now. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, I am Jeff McAleer. I will be back tomorrow. I will be doing a review of the Savage Worlds of Flash Gordon, which I did the giveaways, two editions of it, on tomorrow's show. So hopefully you'll join me then. Anyway, until tomorrow, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Enjoy a bowl of cereal for National Cereal Day. And I will see you tomorrow. And I swear, why doesn't this ever, go off? Never segues out correctly. Damn it.